Hello and welcome, I'm Raziel, and because it's a new year, I've decided I'm going to start trying to do a lot more lore videos. I'm going to do videos about the games I like, Conquest. I'm not doing bolt action, I swear, I promise I won't do a bolt action because I don't think I know enough about World War II history to give them any respect. I think if I did a video on that, I'd be so wrong on it, and being based on reality, it would be just wrong for me to be that wrong. But I'll be doing Conquest, World War Exodus, well, this dystopian age setting, Firefight and Kings of War settings, and Judge Dredd. You know, the games I play, and if I do start another game, I will probably envelop that into the rotation of lore, if I enjoy it or not. Now, like I said, this is just basically me talking about the games I enjoy, and that's it. I won't be talking about 40k or Age of Sigmar because one, too many channels do it, and two, I'm not really into the games anymore, to be honest with you, and that's about it. Okay, so I want to start with one of my favourite games. I'm going to start with one of my favourite factions, and that is the Watchers. The Watchers are a hegemony of aliens, not a single species. They are lots and lots of different species. Some we don't even see because they tend to be space bound or other planet bound. Anything that suits their pinnacle use. The thing that they're best at. The one thing they can do that no other race can do, no other species can do, or if they can do it, they do it the best. So the aliens we would usually see on planet side from the Watchers would be the Greys, the Viridians, the Magenta, and the Ceruleans, because they decided that, Pokemon towns made great alien species names. I think we'd be called Pink. Yeah, we'd be the pink-clad humans are the pink-clad, even though, we're just lots of different colours. So, that's the first thing. Having this hegemony of different species meant they were very versatile within encompassing a galaxy. Because, different species can do different things. And with each species being treated more or less equally compared to what they can do, it's not a conquering species, a conquering faction. They are a faction that goes, hey, we like what you're doing here, come and join us, be part of this hegemony, you be you, and, we get to use you as you wish, and we get to share the technology of all these other races with you. It's a give or take, and I do enjoy that. I think that's a fantastic way of doing it, because it's not just an invading force. I think it's such a trope right now that all aliens are invading forces, and that's it. But having this alien faction, this intergalactic faction, which decides that, we're not going to invade you, we like what you're doing, we're going to continue what you're doing, but we're going to give you free stuff too if you join our hegemony. You get to be you, and we get to continue. But you get nice new gear. The other thing is they're not big fans of species getting a hand or a technological leg up to what they should evolve to. A case in point, Atlantia had a lot of help from the Order and the Hex, and the Order gave the Atlanteans lots and lots of guns. They were great, and they managed to fight the Hex with it. Okay, so that was fine. And so when they got to Earth and they saw this, they were like, hang about, wait. You are humans, you're only so old, why do you have this? Why do you have this technology? And they were like, well, we don't like you having this, you shouldn't have this. And then a series of negotiations happened between the Atlanteans and the Watchers' hegemony. Some might say these were somewhat aggressive in those negotiations, leading to the Watchers saying, we'll be back. See, if a planet decides not to be part of a hegemony, usually it's quite peaceful. Usually it's just like, hey, right, you don't want to be part of our hegemony, that's fine, you don't get all this cool free stuff, or we don't get what you're good at, we're going to move on. We're just going to go on, we're going to head off, you do you, and, if you want to become part of a hegemony, we can do this again at a later date. But that's the usual way. It's just like, I'm going to move on now. Like I said, they aren't a conquering force, they're not an invading force, which is much a trope within the science fiction genre that, aliens are invaders. Like, they are hegemony, and they like to envelop planets into the hegemony rather than force them. And usually if it's peaceful, if negotiators are like, yeah, they don't want to, But say a planet chooses the more aggressive route of negotiation with guns and other things, then the Watchers tend to be as aggressive back. And because they are hegemony of many different species, they tend to have the better firepower. Why? Because they got lots of different species firepower which can cope with a lot of different factors within warfare. And this is where some of the species come in. The cerulean clade, apart from when they go out collecting spooky Pokemon, tend to be infiltrators. They like to get in and, spy. They can morph and shapeshift into whatever species they're looking at. You have the Viridian Clade, which is, of course, the more elite fighters. They're like the super elite. They are the special units of the Watchers. And you have the Greys, the frontline troops. Should they need something a little bit more hard-hitting, then they'd probably bring out the Magenta Clade. So each clade, again, has its use. Even in warfare, there are 4 different alien species which all have different uses on the battlefield. And that's cool. Like I said, I think that's a fantastic way of doing this. And again, when it comes to negotiations, we have other clades we might not even see because, well, they're usually on the spaceships or they're back on their home planets or they're in the democratic parts. So when it comes to a war game, we're not going to really see them because they don't fight, they just talk. And given the age of the Watchers, there's probably thousands, if not millions, of different species here. You could have species which are, very much underground, and they may be the miners, but they will be treated equally as the Greys and everyone else on how good their use is and how useful they are to the rest of the Watcher hegemony. But this does beg the question on why do they want Earth? What are they going to do with us? And what are we good for? Well, if you watch a lot of science fiction, most aliens are very fond of us because we are inventive, especially in ways of killing aliens. And we're very good at basically making something out of nothing. Example, Arnold Schwarzenegger beating the Predator with a tree log. This guy who has a literal atomic device attached to his arm gets beaten with a very big stick. So the humans, it could be the inventiveness. So when they do actually make first contact, they tend to make sure that the planet or the major species aren't too technologically evolved. They do not like it, as I said, that their species has had this leg up within their evolutionary progress, especially the technology side. They want So basically, when they first came to Atlantis, they didn't expect people to have laser guns. So they were like, hey, why do you have laser guns? And they're like, oh, these people give it to us. And of course, the Atlanteans had a big leg up from the Order of the All-Shard, because the Order of the All-Shard really didn't like the Hex, who had also managed to arrive on planet and give the humans other weapons and other powers. And the Watchers weren't very fond of this, and, negotiations happened and failed. Unlike the triggers and the firing mechanisms of the weapons, they didn't fail. Until one of the Cerulean, who had already infiltrated the Earth, said, no, this is kind of cool, it's all sorted out, this is cool, we can work this out. And so there's a time of a bit of an uneasy peace. There were some Watchers, mainly Greys and Viridians, on the planet Earth around Atlantia, and there was a bit of peace. And then again, fighting started because of the Hex. Mostly because the Hex had started to infect the Ceruleans, who were the infiltrators. And this ended up into being a massive war with the humans and the Watchers. The Watchers are unaware that the Hex had actually possessed these Ceruleans, and the same with the Order, the Order were aware, I should say, that these Watchers were, these Ceruleans were actually infected by the Hex. So a big war started. The big guys watching overhead in their big spaceships, however, once again were unaware that the Hex had possessed the humans. Now, this is one of the best parts. If a race or planet doesn't want to, but the Watchers really want them, they will disintegrate a planet and turn it into pure energy. So, should they want to have them back and, enjoy it, then they would go, they would bring the planet back as it was from the time they basically atomized it. And the people on the planet would be none the wiser of what happened. It would basically be stuck in stasis, and that was it. Whereas, should the planet be exceedingly aggressive and decide that no, we're not having you and you're not having our stuff, go away, here's a big stick with a stone on it, I'm going to poke you in the face, and the Watchers could just disintegrate the planet, and instead of storing it, they would just sort of like let the energy just out into space, therefore completely destroying the planet. It's gone. It's absolutely down to its energy. It's not even atomized at this point. It's just the energy of a planet that it is. Like, that's it. And that's what happened to Atlantia. Well, kind of. Atlantia was destroyed, completely atomized. All the Spickers and anyone working for the Order were gone, and all the people who were all the aliens that were possessed by this hex were also completely destroyed. They weren't kept. There wasn't no stasis. The war at Atlantia was too much for the Watchers. So they just basically destroyed this whole city. Now, this is actually kind of interesting point of view. See, because one part of the planet rebelled against the Watchers, they didn't condemn the entire planet. They only condemned the place that they deemed too dangerous. And there you go. So they just got rid of that bit. The rest of the human race was fine to get on with doing what they're doing, but that one part gone, which shows that they actually do understand that one race, or it might be envelop an entire planet, doesn't always mean that everyone on the planet is thinking the same. So they will condemn those who are guilty and leave everyone else who is innocent. So basically, the planet was to rebel to the point that the Watchers would disintegrate the entire planet, would mean that the entire planet and every one of the species rebelled against them and wanted them away in an aggressive manner. Whereas if it's just like one island, the island gets shot into space. I think it's an interesting change in the tropes of the alien invader sort of thing. And I think it's quite cool. Now we move to, nowadays in Arizona, where Watcher craft has crashed and they want to get back to Earth. Look, I completely skipped over the point of Leon, the Spanish guy, the Conquistadors, because I want to talk to him in the Outlaws video. And this is where we're at. A bunch of Watchers have crashed on Earth and they're trying to communicate home, but they're seeing whether or not we humans can still be part of the Watcher hegemony. And that's what they're doing. This is where we're at. So we have the Cerulean, the Greys, the couple of Magentas, Viridian, they're fighting and trying to make sure that the humans are good. But again, we do still have the Hex, which is becoming a bit of a problem. So that's a bit of a dive into the Watcher lore. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you all have a good day as well. See you in the next one. Have a lovely time. And don't forget, if you want to save some money on your Wild West, not your Wild West Extras, because Whaling Games owns it. If you want to save money on your wargaming, up to 20% off of your wargaming, click on the link down below. You get an extra 1% off with their point system, and you also get free delivery after 20 quid. Which is actually really cool, because I can't think of anything on that shop which isn't over 20 quid, so you always pretty much get free delivery. There's Forbidden Planet as well, which is super cool, and if you like comics and DVDs, mangas, etc., all those plushies and talk cool geeky stuff, click on that. There is, of course, my merchandise and my comics. If you want to see Little Red Riding go ham, absolutely ham on some Lovecraftian werewolves, cyborgs, go there. There is also Skyforge, a good friend of mine. Give him a click. I don't get paid for that one. I just want to get him up like Google album and really help his business. And finally, Patreon, because business. Bye-bye.